Guys, welcome back to another show, another edition of the Ike MMA podcast. I'm rejoined back in the studio by none other than Maxwell Barnett. Max, how you feeling? How is everything?
Amazing. It's been quite some time since I last fought. I think October. So for
Hmm.
me, having originally done like 5 fights in my first year and whatnot, that's a lot of these amateurs. That's how long it takes to fight six months or so. But for me, that's a long time. So I feel amazing, like good to go, man.
I think the last time you fought was at the sometime in December, actually, wasn't it?
Yes, I believe so. I think so. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I mean, for your next fight up against, is it Fahri Reed or so? I couldn't pronounce that name entirely.
Fahri Heald, I
Yeah,
believe.
yes. Um. How's just the preparation? Is the weight cut coming along well? How's the fight coming? How's sparring? Everything.
So I've made this camp really quite long. I started in Thailand, getting some of the best training you can. I was over in Thailand, Phuket Fight Club. You know, some great fighters there. I went from Thailand to Dubai, a couple of weeks there, and then this is the first time in sort of the last 12 months that I've got a full 10 weeks with my original coach, Jim Bateman of Bateman MMA. And nobody, I can get all the training around the world I like, but when I ain't got that person that knows me inside out, giving me all their attention, the camp's not going to be 100%. So I've spent a full 10 weeks with Coach Bateman this camp, and I just feel like everything that I do well has been sharpened. As to my opponent, Fahri Heald, he's 2-0. So I think he's got both finishes, but that's all I know about him. There's not really much footage on him, and I like it that way. I like to go into the unknown. So it's all about me. It's nothing about him. It's all about me. And when I turn up and do things correctly, he's got no chance. So camp's going well, and then sparring. I've been sparring as I like to fight. Been extremely violent. You got to take care of your sparring partners the best you can, but definitely dropping people with body shots and stuff. So I'm sharp. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to next Saturday now.
So your corner and your team since you last competed, that's not changed much. You're keeping more or less all the people you've worked with, you're keeping it the same.
Correct. So from the start of my career, I've been with Coach Bateman, and he's cornered all my fights. But the thing is, with me traveling a lot, um, I've done a lot of my camps in different gyms, different people around the world, which is great. But I just feel like I need to bring it back to the day one, the guy that knows me the most, the guy that we get the most progress with, that can push me the hardest, that knows me inside out, and that'd be Coach Bateman. And this is probably the first time in the last year that I've done the full camp with him and no one but him. I've gone down to Manchester top team for some sparring. I've got a great relationship with them guys. I've had for the last 18 months. But other than that, it's been 10 weeks solid with the man who knows how to get this win.
You say excuse me. You say that you said that you started your fight camp in Thailand before you gradually came back to the UK. Um, Obviously Thailand's a quite very much a different climate. The weather's a lot more warmer, a lot more humid. I mean, over there in comparison to the UK, where at the moment we're still in very much a fairly cold part of the time of the year. Um, does that make much difference? I mean, over there, because it's a lot more humid when you're training, I think you might tire a lot quicker because you're burning calories a lot quicker because the temperature is a lot higher in comparison to here in the UK. I mean, also what I'm asking is, where would you prefer to let and train to really get yourself really prepared for the fight here or back in Thailand?
I think the way that I've done it is probably the perfect split. If you can start your camp in Thailand, put 4 weeks in, you've got the hot climate, you get fit faster because you get tired quicker, so your recovery has to get better. You've got amazing training partners there, and you can sort of put a hard month in, and then you can roll into your actual camp in the UK where you've got your team and the people that have got your best interests at heart. Because the thing is, in places like Thailand, there's so many stars, so many UFC fighters, so many people there that it would be hard to get the time that you need from individual coaches as you're not the home fighter there. So they're going to look after the people that fight for the gym, that that put the gym on the map. So it's good to get in there and get the work and get the bodies and get fit. And then I think the split is perfect. I don't think I'd want to do a whole camp in Thailand. I think definitely finishing off in the UK with my team's the best option, but it's a good starting point to get the fitness there.
Wow. So over there, mixed martial arts and beyond that, combat sports over there. I mean, okay, this may be quite obvious when I say it or even ask about it. Over there, it is a massive, massive business, a massive, massive industry. And you just said that the coaches over there will naturally, obviously, look after their own home fighters first before they help you.
Yeah, 100%. That's like what I'd expect though. Like it's busy, busy mats, and people are coming like for 1 week, for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, for 4 weeks. If every time somebody passed in and the coach gave one-to-one, undivided attention to these people, then they leave in 2 weeks. It's not really bringing. It's not going to be a sustainable climate, is it? So the guys that live there and the guys that fight for the gym get the primary attention, as I think's right. I mean, if I was a coach, I'd do the same. And I think the longer you stay, the more attention you get. And if you maybe stay in there 2, 3 months, then you start to become one of the team. And if you used to take a fight from them, then I think you get the undivided attention. But as for sort of passing through on sort of like a 4 week visit like I did, you, everyone shows you love, but you're not going to get the undivided attention that you'd probably require in a camp.
You said that your corner and that your team hasn't changed much, but and you also not seen too much information or footage of your opponents fighting. Is there anything in your game plan that maybe you think you might want to change or that you want to change, or do you think um uh what your initial plan is exactly what you're going to go ahead with on fight night?
For me, it's going to be the same as always in the sense it's going to be super violent. I come for one outcome, and that's the finish. But I've definitely matured a lot in the last sort of 6 months I've had to realize that violence is an asset, but also a liability, and you must control it in a manner to display my skills the best that I can. I must also incorporate my grappling and wrestling, which has never been displayed the level of which it is, because I always seem to want to disengage from the situation rather than wrestling out of these positions. So I think you're just going to see a little bit more patience, but equally as violent. And you'll see me. I am good to engage in them wrestling positions. I think you'll see me engage in that a lot more. And I'm really going to mix it up. I've got a lot of weapons that have never been shown that I can hit people with in sparring, that I can hurt people with. So I think you're going to see a very complete mixed martial arts display, and I'll get the finish inside 2 rounds.
So in terms of game plan, is it you want to go in there and like you said, really display your skills and your talent with wrestling, ground game, stand up, or is it that you would like to because you said you like to disengage from the situation, or is it that you'd like to have a quick finish, a TKO, KO, or you really
I,
want to give the
I,
crowd something to remember?
I think the two statements you just made in this situation actually fit into each other surprisingly. So the goal is to go in there and show a complete mixed martial arts display. And I think by doing that, the finish will present itself rather quickly. And I will take the opportunity rather than hunting for the finish and only the finish. The finish is the result of how I'm going to put my skills out there. There's going to be no other option than a finish, because that is what will present itself, and I'll take it with both hands. So I think both statements you just said are true, funnily enough, rather than one or the other.
There was a question that I that came across my mind when I was listening to some stuff on YouTube. I was just going over the podcast and other content. When you're sparring, when you're training, your weight class that you compete in and your current weights that you normally walk around, is it usually someone else who you're going to be training with? Do you tend to prefer if they're also of a similar weight to you? I mean, just to help you really prepare as if you're already in the octagon competing.
I'd say about 70% of the time, I want the training to be someone of the same weight. So, I mean, I'm fighting at super lightweight, but my next fight after this will be lightweight. So I'll be going down to the 155. So I like to fight people between, who fight between feather and welter, so lightweights, so, big featherweights or small welterweights, 70% of the time. I also like to bring people in opponent specific. So when I've fought bigger people, who I could tell was much bigger than me, I've brought in heavier weights, and I've got some friends. Like I might train with a bantam sometimes for the speed, but for me, if you're gonna, there's different horses for different courses. Like I'm not trying to hurt a bantamweight because they're just naturally much smaller. I'm trying to use them for their speed and try and match my speed with them. But I'm not trying to go power for a light heavyweight guy. I'm trying to use different attributes. Maybe wrestle them and see if I can get them down with them being heavier. But I'd say primarily I like to match my weight class. There's a young guy at Bateman MMA in Grimsby called Alex. He's only 17. He'll be fighting on the BMF March 16th. And he's my weight. We both walk around about 79, 80 kilos. And this guy, I think he came in the gym when he was 15. And I mean, as long as he stays on the projection that he's on, the guy don't do anything. He don't work. He don't go to college. He just fights every day. He's going to be in the UFC. And he's one of my main training partners when I'm at Bateman's. Unreal talent, and we're exactly the same weight. So I'd say that around the sort of lightweight mark is the best sparring for me, just because all the attributes are equal. Then
So you would, hmm, this is something I'm trying not to talk too much about. That it kind of ventures away from what I was saying. So now I actually will leave. You do agree that actually training with someone who's very similar, yeah, okay, weight class you, and would you even say in terms of age as well, would be beneficial to the athlete that has a competition ahead of them?
I think the age thing really don't matter too much. I think if you're talking the sort of young talents that you get at the ages of 15 and 16, it's sometimes a bit harder because they're not developed, and you definitely don't want to cause any trauma to them or anything like that, which can be easily done in a developing brain. But I think once people are 17, 18, right the way through until in the 40s, if they want to get in there and spar and they want to train, then age is irrelevant. But I think size and strength is very, very relevant. You can't be bullying people or getting
Okay.
bullied. You need to match someone at your weight. But I don't think that age is relevant.
Um, has there ever been an occasion whereby you've had a fight and you've won, but you still think back and you analyze the competition, you analyze the bouts, and you think, when you watch the footage, maybe, do you think, is there anything that I could have done better in that particular fight when you just analyze the whole thing from start to finish?
100%. I've gone out there and knocked people out inside a minute and looked back and thought, why did you waste these shots? I think, not having competed in martial arts before, I started my MMA career a little over 18 months ago, not even 2 years into this. Uh, a lot of the time has been a lack of composure. I mean, I love fighting, I love violence foremost. So a lot of the time you'll see me engaging overly excited, but all these are lessons. I think 2025, you'll see me go professional and you'll see the finished article. I think I feel like I've learned a lot of the lessons I needed to learn so far. But I think definitely all my wins, I look back at all my losses as well, and there's just so much. I cringe watching any fight back. I won't watch them back now. I've watched them back at the time, but I just think, why did you do that? Why did you take that shot? Why did you take that step? I think that's critical to becoming a complete fighter and the best version of yourself. Like if you're happy with your performance, win, lose or draw, the minute KO could have been 30 seconds if you did things better. So
So you plan to go professional by 2025, but before that, are there any particular promoters here in the UK or okay, further afield around the world who you would like to compete in before you to get as many wins under your belt before you get to the professional stage of your career?
Um, well, I've been out. I've fought on other shows. Almighty was all right. I fought on Cage Steel. I thought that wasn't run very well. And I've fought on BMF like 5 or 6 times now. Probably like 5 times, and I think they've got 3 shows this year. And I'm usually fighting like 5 times in a year. I think with how much I want to develop my skill set. Um, I probably will just fight on them 3 shows. If anything else comes up, short notice, then my body's good and I'm healthy, then I will take on extra fights. But I'm looking at the 3 BMF shows being the best show that I've ever fought on, being run the best, being run by fighters, having respect for the fighters, paying you for your ticket sales, paying you commission on time. I think I'm aiming for the 3 BMF shows, and there's potential for other things outside of that. But I think that'd take me up to 10 amateur fights, and I feel like that'd be a good place to then sort of take some time to develop. And in 2025, turn professional. Definitely, I'm not in there. I don't get these guys that just hang around amateur fighting for 5 years. If you don't think you're good enough, fair enough. But I think you should have learned a bit more in 5 years than still fighting the same guys doing the same things. I mean, like the last when I fought Aaron Kevison for the KCL title, he was fighting for titles before I'd even knew what MMA was. So I'm like, why are we even competing with each other? You should go on and do something else in the sport, but each to their
Yeah.
own.
You won't again tongue twisted. You wouldn't want to stay at a particular stage for too long. You want to progress to the next stage, and because your time is precious to you, obviously.
Yeah, my time is precious. I think if you dedicate yourself to the sport, I train twice a day, 6 days a week. That you shouldn't
Mm,
be.
yeah.
You don't need to be an amateur for 5 years. You don't need to have 20 amateur fights. Like I've learned a lot. I fell short of some titles, whatnot, and that's okay. I'll make up for it in the professional ranks. My record will start at 0-0, and we'll go on, and we'll go and do great things. Um, I don't see the need to hang around. Time is valuable, and at the end of the day, we ain't getting paid as amateurs, so you better start getting paid.
You know, because you do look like someone who has that kind of in terms of the bigger names, UFC, Bellator, PFL, Cage Warriors. You do look like you do have that kind of quality to you. That is the your mixed martial arts fighter, but you would have thought you're. I have that. You see that connection between yourself and the bigger promotions. That star power is there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like the end of the day, I'm an extremely routine individual, probably from when I was in the military. And when I was there, I was teaching people things in terms of combat and in sports. And I've learned how to teach. I've learned how to talk. I learned how to do it. Also, I think it's very simple. And all these guys they stand there and say the same thing before every fight and say, oh, I've had a good camp and I can't wait for Saturday night. And it's boring. And I wonder why someone younger and hungry comes in and gets a main event slot or gets put above them on the bill. It's all a full package. When you see me going out my way to make these insane social media promotions that I film, that my guys film, that we edit, we put out. I turn up to the fights with cameras and we make movies and I talk the talk and I walk the walk I'm an exciting fighter. Other people might have dedicated their lives to the sport, but they're boring as fuck. So they don't ever get any views. They don't get any main event slots, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Yeah, you have to be able to fight, but if no one watches it, then who gives a fuck if you can fight or not?
Mm, yeah, good answer. No, that's a good question. Especially now I've got social media so abundant
Mm.
everywhere and in every single facet of our lives. But with the military background that you have, do you think it's helped you mentally to, as in, to stay disciplined, to pursue success in this career? I mean, I think the question I'm really trying to ask is that combat sports is a brutal sport, so don't expect to go in there and even win without coming out injured or hurt, somebody physically suffering. Um, do you think that this is a sport that people should, excuse me, should maybe, if it's something you really want to pursue, do you think it would help if the individual probably has had to go through some kind of adversity first before? Because look, let's be honest, if you really want this, you're gonna have to suffer a lot before you can get any kind of success out of this game.
Mate, 1,000,000%. I served 4 years in the army. I specialised as a paratrooper, supporting 3 Para 2-3 Air Assault Engineer Regiment. And them 4 years have shaped me as a man. I joined at 16, got out at 20, so I did it whilst I was young. But when you've got no option but to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and when you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you're running 15 miles, right? But it isn't a choice. It's that's what's happening, and it doesn't matter if it's raining, it doesn't matter if it's snowing, it doesn't matter if you didn't get no sleep last night. Because guess what? Nobody gives a fuck in the army. It's truly down to you to go out and get that done every single time. Like there was time I remember for like 9 months straight, I never turned the hot water on in my room. I just used to cold shower every day before cold therapy was the thing to do. Like there's been times in the army where we've been out on exercise, which is when you practice for what would be warfare, and I've spent 6 days and slept like 2 hours in 6 days, and then you dig in trenches, which takes like 12 hours. And you think you have nothing left, but what are you gonna do? Quit on the people that are beside you? So 100% the army made me a man, changed me from a boy to a man. Like when the alarm clock goes off and it's time to run, it's time to run. We don't debate with ourselves. When the session comes, when it's 1, 2 a day, 3 a day, you don't miss them. You're a man, and when you make the agreement to yourself, the army taught me that you turn up and you do what you said you was going to do. So it was a blessing.
Last but by no means least, because definitely we will be having you on the show again. Any shout outs you want to give?
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to yourself, but then also my friends who have a media channel as well. The more the merrier. The more guys that give a platform to these guys, the better for the sport. So the Fight Rundown, great guys. Bateman MMA, Coach Bateman. My coach Ben out in Dubai, Ben Merck on Instagram. He's helped me. I'm out there a lot. He's helped me. And then just my sponsor, Exclusive Automotive, them guys contribute finances towards the camps. So big up them guys. All my training partners and people who know they are. But you couldn't, as much as MMA is a solo sport, without your team, you're nothing. So big love to everyone who watches this, and you've helped me. Don't go unnoticed.
Maxwell, thank you once again for coming on the show. Thank you so much for your time. And 16th of March, I look forward to seeing you stepping into the octagon.
Look forward to seeing the finish, brother. It's good to catch up.
Thank you so much. Take care.